All right, PFL Championships for 2024 is this Friday from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and we have got 16 fights. I'm not joking. There's 16 fights on this card. And 10 of them, yes, 10 of them are 5-round fights. Guys, this card's gonna go 8 hours. I'm not joking. Because PFL is known for their pacing to be absolutely horrible. Their cards already take forever when there's 10 fights. There's 16 fights, and we have 10 5-round fights. Guys, it's not gonna happen, right? But if every single fight went to a decision, this entire card would be, hold on, let me do the math real quick. 15 times 6 plus, oh god, this can't be that hard. 10 plus 10 times 25, 250 plus 90, oh my goodness, this is horrible. 340 divided by 60. This is 5.5 hours of just fight time if every single fight went the entire distance. Now, it's not gonna go that way, but max, this fight card could go 5.5 hours just because of the fights, not entrances, not promos, no, just the fights. Yeah, this card's never gonna end. This is insane. But we've got all 16 fights here on this card from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the day after Thanksgiving on Friday, November 29th. And folks, if you haven't yet though, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for some more MMA predictions here on the channel. UFC's back next week with UFC 310, Pantoja versus Asakura for the flyweight championship, and we also have daily college basketball best bets on the channel, as well as our daily NBA predictions on the channel. Those videos will be going out tomorrow morning, so if you like the MMA predictions, again, we do this every single day with college basketball and the NBA as well. All right, on to the first of our 16 fights. Let's lock in. We start things off in the atomweight division. We have got a fight here between Hatan Alsaif taking on Lilia Osmani in this fight. We're going with Hatan Al-Salif to win this fight. We've successfully picked her in both of her fights so far in PFL MENA. And by the way, I should talk about this before we get into the actual predictions. There's going to be a mixture of PFL MENA championships. There's 5 of those, and there's 5 of the PFL, I guess, global championships, if you want to call them. I don't know what we're going to call those. And then obviously there's prelims before with Bellator fighters, PFL MENA fighters. Actually, it's just Bellator fighters, I think. It's just Bellator and PFL fighters in the, actually, there might be some PFL Europe fighters in the prelims as well. And then obviously this fight's a PFL MENA prelim as well. So Hatan Al-Salif takes on Lilia Osmani in this fight. We're going to go with the fighter that's 2-0 in Hatan Al-Salif. It just makes sense. Let's just think about this here, guys. We've got Hatan Al-Salif, who, again, is 2-0 so far in the PFL. She won by head kick in her first fight, TKO, and then won with the corner stoppage in her second fight, both in the second round. I mean, she has found ways to just win fights, and she's been the dominant striker in every fight she's had. She's taken on, again, a fighter who does not have a Tapology page. We know nothing about her. Hatan Al-Salif, again, has a kickboxing background prior to fighting in PFL. For Lilia Osmani, I've looked her up on Google. Guys, I can't find a damn thing about her other than the fact that she's from Algeria. That's the only thing I can find on the internet about this fighter. So I'm not going to pick her to win a cage fight. I'm just not. Give me Hatan Al-Salif to win the fight. I think she'll get it done by second round TKO. She's been able to beat both of her opponents so far in her amateur MMA career by second round TKO, and she should be able to do the same here against some random woman they found in Algeria, okay? Give me Hatan Al-Salif to win the fight by second round TKO. Let's go on to our next one. Here we go to the middleweight division. We've got Costello Van Steenis taking on Joao Victor Dantas in this fight. I thought Costello Van Steenis was fighting for a Bellator championship next. I could be wrong. No, I'm pretty certain. After he beat Gregory Babinet, I believe it was in France, and earlier this year in May, he won by Von Fluchoke, and they said on the card, oh, you know, you are the next number one contender, Costello Van Steenis. You will be fighting the winner of Fabian Edwards and Johnny Eblen. Well, that fight's already happened. Eblen won the rematch. Why isn't Costello Van Steenis fighting for the belt? I mean, shouldn't that be next? Why does he have to go through Joao Victor Dantas in this fight? I mean, Van Steenis is gonna win. Dantas is 7-1 professionally. He's coming over from Jungle Fight. He fought once in LFA back in 2021. He lost the fight, but again, this is an undefeated fighter, at least in Jungle Fight, 4-0 over there. But guys, he's going to have trouble here with Costello Van Steenis. The Dutch fighter should have his way on the ground in this one. Again, he's coming off that Von Flue victory over Gregory Babinet in his last one in the second round. Won in Bellator prior to that by Darce Choke. Did have the loss to Douglas Lima, which was a little confusing when he got booked to fight Babinet, which I'm pretty sure that was a number one contender's fight. Was it not? I'm pretty sure it was, which is a little bit weird because, yeah, he lost to Lima, and then immediately he gets that contender fight against Babanay, but it is what it is. That was early Bellator Champion Series, and I don't know what's going to happen to Bellator, by the way, but, early when they were promoting those Champion Series cards, they were always promoting, okay, you're going to have a number one contenders fight and a title fight on every single Bellator Champion Series card. Obviously, that didn't hold up that way when Liam McCourt and Sarah Collins main evented a Bellator Champion Series card. Was that the last one? I think it was. I don't know if they're doing the one in Japan at the end of the year that they were promoting. Actually, let's check that right now. I don't know what goes on with Bellator, guys. I'm gonna be honest. Again, Dagestan versus Ireland's happening again. They're gonna do Usman Nurmagomedov and Paul Hughes. Are they doing the card in Japan on December 31st? It's still on Tapology, but there are 0 fights announced for that date. So I don't know what to say about Bellator. Is it happening? Is it not? Probably not, but who knows? Anyways, going back to this fight, Kassel Van Steens will have his way. He's a great grappler, and Vitor Dantas, I've been butchering his name, is just a primary striker who probably won't be able to hang on the ground with someone, of the grappling level of Van Steens. I think Van Steens should have his way, and he should be able to win this fight on the ground. That's why I like him to take it by second round submission. Oh, I have 2 cameras going on there. Whoops. Yeah, I like Van Steens win this fight by second round sub. Let's go on to our next one here. We have got Adjoudj. I always butcher his name, but he's taking on Jose Perez. Now, Asil is a guy coming over from Bellator. He's 6-1 so far in Bellator. Picked up a huge win over Bruno Fontes in his last one, winning that fight by second round knockout. Again, his only loss in the Bellator cage came in his professional mixed martial arts debut back in 2020, where he lost by split decision at Bellator 240. But since then, again, he has not lost. He's picked up 3 wins by TKO. He's got a win over George Santu, Liam McCracken back in 2023 as well. He's beat some decent up-and-coming guys so far in the Bellator ranks. He's taken on Jose Perez, another guy who was undefeated in PFL, one fight, the win over Jesse Stern. His only losses back in CFFC back in 2021 to DeAndre Anderson. Since then, though, he has not lost a fight. He is the former CFFC featherweight champion. Won the interim belt against Frank Wells back in 2022, then won the actual championship against Chris Vasile by unanimous decision in 2023, then got signed to the PFL, was supposed to fight Tyler Diamond, fight never happened, then ended up getting to fight Jesse Stern and won the fight by unanimous decision. That's great. Asail should have his way in this fight. It's a clash of styles to a certain extent. I mean, I don't feel too badly about the grappling game out of SBG Ireland's own Asail Adjoudj. I think he can hang, but Jose Perez is obviously going to want to try to take this fight down to the ground. Primary jiu-jitsu guy. Asail is a striker. He's going to try to look to strike in this fight. That's kind of the easiest way I can break this fight down for you. I would think Asail is going to go out here and win this fight. But do we have odds on this fight? We do. Jose Perez is the plus 150 dog in this fight. Asail is a minus 180 favorite. I'd expect Asail to go out here and get a knockout. We have Asail to win the fight by first round knockout or TKO. Again, I just like the hands, like the hand speed. I think he should be able to go out there and find a finish pretty early on in the fight. So it's going to be Asail Adjoudj, the Sultan from SBG Ireland, to find his way to a first round knockout victory over Jose Perez. Let's go on to our next fight, and we move to the featherweight division, where we've got the former PFL featherweight champion. I mean, he was literally the champion last year. He has not fought since winning the PFL championship. And Jesus Pinedo, he's fighting Jeremy Kennedy, and this fight is somehow buried on the prelims. Now, this fight card starts at 6:30 in the morning on the West Coast. Are you serious? Oh, I don't know if I can actually get up for this. I'm gonna be honest. Day after Thanksgiving. Why is this fight? Why is it that early? I guess because it's in Saudi Arabia. Regardless, Jesus Pinedo is buried on this prelims. He is the reigning defending PFL featherweight champ after he beat Gabriel Braga back in 2023 to win the championship. Obviously, they fought twice in the year. Braga wins the first fight. Pinedo wins the second. Pinedo was booked against Patricio Pitbull on that PFL versus Bellator card to start the year. Pinedo had to withdraw from the fight. Then Gabriel Braga ended up taking his place. However, Pitbull didn't end up fighting Braga because Braga got hurt too, so Pitbull fought nobody in Saudi Arabia earlier this year. But Pinedo was booked against Pitbull. Fight never happened. He was injured, I do believe, and now here he is back in the Saudi Arabia PFL environment, but now on the undercard instead. And again, this guy's not lost since winning the PFL championship last year. He takes on Jeremy Kennedy, who happened to fight Patricio Pitbull after Pitbull, again, was supposed to fight both Braga and Pinedo. Kennedy lost the fight. He got TKO'd in the third round. This is the guy who was putting together a pretty good, run in Bellator prior to the Pitbull loss, beating Emmanuel Sanchez, beating Aaron Pico, beating Pedro Carvalho. Regardless of how you feel about Emmanuel Sanchez, in 2021, and Pedro Carvalho in general, because Carvalho's not the best guy. Kennedy was stacking together wins, lost to Adam Borch back in 2021, fought in the PFL obviously back in 2019. Ended up getting eliminated in the playoffs to Daniel Pinedo that year, but then Pinedo eventually popped for roids, I believe. But regardless, Jeremy Kennedy has been around the game for a while. He's 32 years of age from Extreme Couture, but he's had a million fights so far. I mean, this is going to be walk number, 25 for Jeremy Kennedy against Jesus Pinedo, another guy who's had a lot of pro experience. This is fight number 30 for him, and he is just 28 years old. I like the hand speed out of Pinedo on this fight, and I do like the power. I mean, don't forget, again, what Jesus Pinedo was doing to guys in the PFL last season when he ended up winning the championship. I mean, his little run beating knocking out Loughnane, which, again, Loughnane's in the main event, right? He TKO'd Loughnane in the first round, he finished Bubba Jenkins in the second round, and then he finished Gabriel Braga in the third round as well. I mean, that is one hell of a run for Jesus Pinedo. That's a great run. And again, just because, he couldn't make the date against Patricio Pitbull, now here he is buried on the prelims against Jeremy Kennedy, a guy that shouldn't really be able to hang with him on the feet. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think Pinedo is the way better striker, and I think Pinedo's got more power than Jeremy Kennedy as well. That's why we're taking Jesus Pinedo to win the fight by first round TKO. I mean, this is just a spot for him to get back in the win column after a year off. I would like to see Pinedo back in the PFL, tournament or season next year. I would hope that's where he's back in next year. It is just kind of odd though, right? I mean, the guy wins the championship and we just haven't really heard from him since. I get it why he didn't want to fight in the season, but doesn't have the Pitbull fight. He's been out since, again, last November. And here he is in the prelims. It doesn't make all that much sense, I'm going to be honest with you. But you know what? Sometimes with the PFL/Bellator, PFLator, things don't exactly make the most sense. But give me Jesus Pinedo to win the fight by first round knockout. Let's go on to the heavyweight division. We have got Slim Trabelsi taking on Abraham Babli in this one. We're going with Trabelsi to win the fight. The heavyweight out of Tunisia, now by way of Poland, should be able to pick up the victory in this one. I expect a wrestling-heavy approach and then ground and pound once the fight gets down to the mat. So again, two undefeated heavyweights in this fight. Someone has to lose their O. I would expect it to be Babli, the one losing this fight. He is 5-0 so far in his professional career. Came in back in 2021, made his professional debut, won a fight by first round TKO, then ended up going on to beating Louis Sutherland in the PFL, beat Hassan Graham in the Challenger Series, then went to Bellator, beat Isaiah Pinson, and then had a fight in, I kid you not, Progress Czech FC in September of this year. Ended up winning a fight in the first round against Vanderlei Jr., a fighter who is now 3-4, who has lost 4 straight fights and not won a professional fight since 2018. What is going on? Okay. Slim should be able to win the fight. I feel pretty confident in saying that. I mean, again, this is a wrestling-heavy fighter from Tunisia who goes in there. He's able to implement his game, and he's pretty solid at doing so. Again, back-to-back victories for Trabelsi in his last couple of fights, are actually in Bellator over Davian Franklin and the Louis Sutherland victory. So again, both these guys have beat Sutherland. But prior to that, for Trabelsi winning Aries FC, he was the Aries FC champion prior to getting signed to Bellator. He's just been able to dominantly beat guys on the ground and find ways to a finish. Again, that's what he did in Aries to win the championship. It was a takedown, and it was, again, ground and pound on the mat. That did win him the fight. I'd expect him to do the same thing against Bob Lee. I just don't think Bob Lee's able to hang with the grappling game of Trabelsi in this fight, just the overall wrestling game of the Tunisian in this fight. We like Slim Trabelsi to go out here and win the fight and win it dominantly on the ground. Give me Trabelsi to get it done by first round TKO. Next up, we go on to the lightweight division. Yes, this fight is buried too on the prelims before we get into the PFL MENA championships in a second. We have got Mansour Barnaoui taking on Alfie Davis. What a scrap in the lightweight division. This is a really good fight. Davis, 17-4-1 professionally. Mansour Barnaoui, 21-6. Both men 32 years of age. This is a big fight for the Bellator lightweight division. I'm serious, it is. Because Alfie Davis now, don't look now, but Alfie Davis has strung together 3 straight victories. He's 8-1 in Bellator, and his only loss is Alexander Chablis. I've never really thought of Alfie Davis as a top 5 guy in Bellator or a title challenger in Bellator, but look at this now. Again, the guys he's beating, Thibaut Gouti, Alan Cruz, Oscar Owensworth, yeah, not the best guys, but here you go. This is Alfie Davis's first big step up in competition since the Chablis fight in 2021. Obviously, Chablis wasn't where he was at now back in 2021, but this is a huge step up for Davis. He gets Mansour Barnaoui, who I get, again, has been a little shaky since going to Bellator. He's 2-2, but look at the guys he's fought. I mean, a win over Adam Piccolotti in a main event in his first fight, then losses to Brent Primus, who's in a championship fight later on in this card. A loss to JJ Wilson, I mean, it is what it is, by unanimous decision, and then he went over Yusuke Yachi in his last fight by first round Darce choke. This is a tough test for Alfie Davis. I really think it is. And I think Barnaoui will win the fight. I think Barnaoui wins it with his ground game. Obviously, that's what he's been known for. Obviously, before heading into Bellator, fighting in Road FC, he was the Road FC champion. That's primarily what he would do and excel in over there. I like the ground game out of Barnaoui in this fight. Again, I don't think Alfie Davis is bad, but again, the point that I did make earlier kind of remains. I've never thought of Alfie Davis as a championship type guy or a top 5 type guy in Bellator ever. Again, not to say that he can't be that, but I've always considered, again, Mansour Barnaoui to be on a higher level, at least, than Davis, and I still think that's the case. I do think Mansour Barnaoui is the better fighter. I think he has the better grappling skills to go out here and win this fight. Not to say Davis can't go out and do that. I just think Barnaoui is better, and that's why we're picking him to win the fight by unanimous decision. I think it's a grappling-heavy approach. I think he's able to keep Alfie Davis down. I think he's able to win the fight, again, on the mat. Give me Tarzan Mansour Barnaoui to win this fight by unanimous decision. Now we go to the 5 straight. I think it's 5 of them, right? Oh, there's only 4. There's only 4. We go to the 4 straight PFL MENA championship fights, and we start things off here in a fight that I don't know why it's happening in the featherweight division. I'm going to be honest with you. I assume there's an injury, but we have got Abdullah Al-Qahtani from Saudi Arabia taking on Jordan's own Abdulrahman Alhyasat in this fight. I don't know why this fight is happening again. They just fought in the main event of PFL MENA 3, and Alhyasat won the fight as a plus 275 dog. Ooh, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I assume there's an injury. I'm gonna have to assume on the other side of the bracket. So Al-Qahtani, again, is the guy that they were kind of pushing the most, I would say, in PFL MENA. He has main evented PFL MENA cards before. He was on the PFL versus Bellator fight card, and when again, when PFL has, has these fighters who, you never really heard of and just up-and-coming guys on their big cards, you know that they're trying to push them, and obviously that's what they've been trying to do for Abdullah Al-Qahtani, which makes sense. But now he's getting a rematch against Alhyasat for the featherweight championship. What changes from that first fight? I'm serious. It's a 5-round environment this time, sure, but Alhyasat was able to win that first fight, and I'd expect Alhyasat to win the second fight as well. I mean, again, it is a 5-round fight, but I think this fight goes the same exact way. Abdulrahman, probably butchered it, Alhyasat beats Abdullah Al-Qahtani, and he gets it done by decision. Al-Qahtani, sure, again, he was going on a run prior to fighting Alhyasat, but he beats Lamar Brown in PFL, David Zellner, Adulakala Rao, probably butchered that, Yazin Hussain. Like, again, these are guys that he's supposed to beat. And for Alhyasat, again, a very, unknown guy prior to beating Al-Qahtani and prior to fighting in PFL. I mean, how the guy's only got 5 professional fights, but he's won every single one of them. Now, they're all by decision, so it is what it is, but I'd expect this fight to go the same exact way. So give me Abdulrahman Alhyasat to beat Abdullah Al-Qahtani, and I think he will get it done by unanimous decision in his first 5-round fight, sure, but it's also Al-Qahtani's first 5-round fight as well. Give me the Cobra, who won the first fight, to do it again. Alhyasat gets it done by unanimous decision. We move on to our next one here in the lightweight division. We have got Mohsin Mohammadseifi, probably butchered it, taking on George's Eid in this fight. We have got Mohsen to win the fight, and we think he'll get this one done by decision. So again, not the highest level of fighting, let's just be honest with ourselves here in PFL MENA. It's not. Again, these are regional guys getting a chance to fight for a regional championship. That's the best way, honestly, that I can put these. But you've got the golden boy Mohsin here, who's 35 years of age, from Iran. He's 6-2 professionally. Came into his, started his MMA career 0-2 with back-to-back losses. The second of which was in WLF Wars, where he lost to a UFC fighter in Rongju. But he has won 6 straight fights since then. Back-to-back wins in PFL MENA. The win over Josh Togo was a first-round knockout. Then a win over Sulil Tyri by unanimous decision in his second fight. And he gets George Eid in this fight for Eid. Back-to-back victories, obviously, in PFL MENA. Abbas Khan, a unanimous decision win over that fight, and then a first-round knockout victory over Omar Regi in that fight by first-round knockout. I think Mohsen is the better fighter Eid has lost before. Prior to fighting in PFL MENA, he had lost 2 fights to Ilnur Agiev and Oli Santalahati. He beats Ali Motaf after that, but that guy's a 5-5-2 fighter. So again, it's a tough one to pick, I'll be honest with you. But for Mohsen, he has shown better striking. He's shown ability to finish fights in the feet. Now, I don't think this fight will get a finish, but I do think the striking game out of Mohsen should be able to win him this fight. Again, I've liked what we've seen more out of him compared to George Zeid. Again, Eid has shown knockout ability as well, but it's a weird fight. You get 2 guys who are basically regional fighters. You know, George is 34 years old. Mohsen is 35. It's just, I don't know. We're going to be going with the Iranian here in Mohsen to pick up the win by decision. He's the much shorter fighter. He's a very physically strong guy for being a lightweight. He's 5'5" at 155 pounds. That's something. But I do like Mohsen to win the fight, and I think he will get it done by unanimous decision. Let's move on to our next one here, to the bantamweight division. Possibly the most well-known fighter, I would say, in PFL MENA. It's got to be Ali Taleb taking on Rashid Haas in this fight. I think this one is probably the easiest to pick out of the... Actually, no, the next fight's fairly easy to pick for the PFL MENA fights, but Ali Taleb should run right through Rashid Haas. We've kind of known that Ali Taleb was the favorite to win at least the 135 division here in PFL MENA. Because we've seen Ali Taleb prior, again, to fighting in PFL MENA. He's fought in the regular PFL before. He's fought for PFL Europe, where, you know, he did win his first fight in the PFL Europe season last year, but ended up losing to the eventual champion in Khizriev Kaharov in the second round by unanimous decision. But, I mean, Ali Taleb has been doing very well in PFL MENA so far, and he's been a huge favorite in every single fight he's had. His first fight, he's a minus 550 favorite, wins the fight by unanimous decision, then beats Jalal Al-Daja in his second fight by first round knockout in a fight where he was a 1,300 favorite. He's now getting Rashid Haas, who again has won back-to-back fights to be in this spot. He's another guy who fought in PFL Europe back in 2023, ended up losing in his first fight to the guy who, you know, the runner-up that season to Khizriev Kaharov. We're talking about Franz Malabo. Haas lost the fight to Malabo by split decision, or by majority decision. Came back, won back-to-back fights again here in PFL MENA. The first one by second round submission, and the second one by unanimous decision. But again, it's hard to pick against Ali Taleb in this fight. He is more explosive than any other fighter I've seen in the bantamweight division here in PFL MENA. He's got better hands, and he's all around just got better striking. I expect Ali Taleb to get the win in this fight. It's a fairly easy pick. Again, he has been slotted to win the PFL MENA championship since, again, this division and since this little tournament has been created. Expect Ali Taleb to win this fight by third round TKO, and then after that, I do think he goes back to PFL Europe, because it is, I think, tougher fights for him. I mean, sure, they could keep him in PFL MENA, and then we just expect Ali Taleb to win every single fight down here. But personally, I would like to see him go up to PFL Europe, test himself again. I know, again, he lost the first time when he went up there, but it was against Kaharov, the guy who ended up winning the championship that year. I like Ali Taleb to beat Rashid Haas and then go back to PFL Europe. Give me Ali Taleb to win the fight by third round TKO. Let's go on to our next one here, the final PFL MENA fight of the year. We go to the welterweight division. We've got Alaqraa taking on Omar El Dafrawy in this fight. This one is the easiest to pick out of all the PFL MENA championship fights. Alaqraa might be the best guy PFL MENA has, other than Ali Taleb, I would say. I mean, he is 7-0, and he has been going right through guys so far in PFL MENA. He's been a huge favorite in every single fight he has had. He is an AKA guy, originally born in Kuwait, but of course training in San Jose, California. He is a 5'8", 170-pounder, which is a little rough, but he should go right through the 5'9" Omar El Dafrawy in this fight. And sure, for Omar, he went out and knocked out Gerard Hussein Al-Sawali. Maybe Al-Sawali wasn't as good as we thought he was, and maybe, honestly, this is probably what it is. Al-Sawali's just been in too many dogfights. Al-Sawali's 20-7 now, but he's been knocked out 5 times in his career, and he's fought some really good guys. He's been knocked out by Umalatov, Sadabusi, Solomon Renfro, and he comes to the PFL MENA, and he just gets chinned. I don't know how much that was, oh, look at Omar El Dafrawy in that fight, more than I just think Al-Sawali's over the hill at this point. You look at what Omar's done so far in the PFL. It's a unanimous decision victory over Anthony Zidane, beating him by unanimous decision. But prior to that, I mean, there's really not a great victory for Omar. And sure, you can make the case the same way about Muhammad Alaqraa as well. But I mean, this guy was fighting in UAE Warriors. He's winning fights. Sure, they're all by decision. But Alaqraa is an undefeated guy, 7-0. He showed some of the capability that he had in that first PFL Mena fight where he wins the fight by ground and pound in the 3rd round. I really like the all-around game out of Muhammad Alaqraa in this fight. He can really do everything, and I would expect him to steamroll Omar Dafrawy in this fight. Now, I don't know if he gets a finish, but I do think this is a 5-0, round domination for AKA's own in Alaqraa. There's a reason, again, Alaqraa was on all the posters for PFL as well. I mean, this is one of their guys that they want to succeed, and again, this is just a step in the right direction for him. I think he's going to be one of their main poster. I mean, he obviously was this year, but I think he's going to remain the poster boy next year for PFL Mena. An undefeated guy, 8-0 reigning champion. That's kind of, I think, what they are aiming to see here, and there's a reason. Again, Alaqraa is the featured prelim before the pay-per-view portion of this card. Give me Alaqraa to win the welterweight championship for PFL Mena, remaining undefeated and going to 8-0. Okay, we go on now to the main PFL championship fights. We start things off here in the heavyweight division with Denis Goltsov and Oleg Popov. Can Goltsov finally get over the hump? That's the question. He's 35-8 professionally, but he's been in so many big-time fights for the PFL. He's been here every single season since 2019, and he hasn't won the belt. He's been in the playoffs every single year, and he still hasn't become the PFL World Champion. 2019, it's a loss to Ali Isaev by 3rd round TKO. 2021, it's a unanimous decision loss to Ante Delia in the playoffs. 2022, he was the number 1 seed going into the postseason with 9 points. He's booked against multiple guys, but then eventually he's got visa issues and can't fight in the playoffs. 2023, he is the number 1 seed. He has 12 points. He wins his first 3 fights all in the first round against Cesar Ferreira, Yorgan De Castro, and Jordan Heiderman. But what happens after that? He loses to Hernan Ferreira in the championship fight by 2nd round knockout. 2024, win over Linton Vassell, win over Thiago Santos, and a win over Tim Johnson. And here we are, Denis Goltsov gets his 4th crack at PFL Gold. He's taken on Oleg Popov, a guy who's 19-1 professionally. This is his first PFL season, and he is undefeated so far in the PFL, obviously, beating Steve Mowry by TKO in his first fight, beating Davian Franklin by unanimous decision, and then beating Linton Vassell in his 3rd fight by unanimous decision in the playoffs. I'm going with Denis Goltsov to win this fight. I think Goltsov's been a lot more impressive than Popov has. Popov's a good wrestler, I'll give you that, but outside of that, I'm not too impressed with what Popov does in the feet, and I do think Goltsov is good enough to fight off the wrestling of Popov in this fight. I think he is. I've seen Goltsov go out here so far this season and look good on the ground against Vassell, against Thiago Santos. Last year in the PFL playoffs against Jordan Heiderman. I feel fine about Denis Goltsov's grappling in this fight. I don't think Popov is going to be able to have his way and just out physical or just be an more physical fighter in this one against Goltsov. I just don't think that's how this fight goes. Personally, I don't think it is. I think Goltsov hits harder. I think Goltsov has better striking. And I think, again, everything in this fight should point to Goltsov finally getting over the hump and winning the PFL championship at 34 years of age. Where does Popov beat this guy? I mean, seriously, it's going to have to be on the ground, obviously, but I don't think Popov's going to be able to manhandle Goltsov on the ground. I just don't think that's how this fight's going to go. I really don't think so. Again, I saw Goltsov, and I know MMA math doesn't always work like this, but I saw Goltsov go out there and finish Linton Vassell, and I saw Popov go the full 15 minutes with him. Okay? Again, Goltsov is a bigger guy. I think he's a stronger guy. He's 6'5" compared to Popov, who's 6 feet 1 inch. I just think, again, I don't know why Popov's a favorite in this one. Sure, Goltsov's lost 8 times, and sure, he is yet to win the big fight, but if there was ever a fight where he was to get that done, it would be right now. I'm taking Denis Goltsov to go out here and win this fight, and I think he will do it I think he'll get it done by 2nd round TKO. I think he'll eventually get the fight. I think he will eventually find his big shot against Oleg Popov, put him down, and win the fight that way. Give me Denis Goltsov to get things done. I don't think Popov's able to take him down. I think Goltsov, again, is able to outstrike him to victory. Give me Denis Goltsov to finally get over the hump and win his first PFL championship. He will get it done by 2nd round TKO. Next up, we go to the lightweight division. We have got Brent Primus taking on Gadzi Rabadanov for the PFL championship. Primus trying to bring home his first world championship since 2017 at 39 years of age. And again, he is 3-0 so far in PFL with wins over Bruno Miranda by second round submission, Solomon Renfro by third round submission, and a playoff victory over Clay Collard. He's now taking on Gadzi Rabadanov, who is again undefeated in PFL, just like Primus is, 3-0 this season with a unanimous decision victory, or two of them, over Solomon Renfro and Elvin Espinoza, and then a second round TKO win over Michael Dufour in his last fight in August of this year. Rabadanov's a big favorite, and he probably should be for a good reason. He's a minus 650 favorite. He is yet to lose a fight in the PFL/Bellator brand. And why wouldn't he be a huge favorite in this one? Rabadanov is just better, I think, than Primus everywhere. I like Rabadanov's sambo better than anything Primus is able to offer on the ground, and on the feet too. I do like Rabadanov over Brent Primus. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Again, Primus has had a good run so far this year, but the matchups, let's be honest with ourselves, guys, have been a little bit favorable towards Primus. Bruno Miranda was a very winnable fight for Brent Primus. Miranda, a guy who's somewhat unproven that Primus is supposed to beat. Solomon Renfro, again, a good striker, but on the ground leaves a lot to be desired. Clay Collard, he's a boxer. It's a fight that Primus wins on the ground, obviously. Again, don't forget what Primus was doing in Bellator prior to, again, making the PFL run. Sure, he was winning fights, but a split decision loss in 2021 to Islam Mamedov, a decision victory over Arnold Benson Henderson, a TKO loss to Alexander Chablis, winning in the Grand Prix against Mansour Barnaoui, which is a very good victory, but then right after that, losing to Usman Nurmagomedov at Bellator 300. Again, no shame in losing to the undefeated Usman Nurmagomedov, but even prior to that for Primus against guys like Mamedov, against Chablis, those aren't the best losses, especially when you're taking on a guy of the level of Gadzi Rabadanov. Just a very technical all-around fighter Rabadanov is. He can beat you on the feet. He can also beat you on the ground as well. I think he's going to piece up Brent Primus on the feet. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's what happens in this fight. Again, we just saw him knock out Michael Dufour. We've seen Rabadanov, I mean, it's only been in one other fight in Bellator, back at Bellator 263 in July of 2021, where he knocked out Daniel Carey. But Rabadanov has the striking to beat Primus, and he has the sambo, and he's got the defensive wrestling to combat whatever Primus tries to do on the ground. Because again, Primus is going to have to try to find a way to get the ground in the way. He's going to have to try to find a way to get the fight on the ground some way. I just don't think it happens against Rabadanov, if I'm being honest. I don't think he is able to find a way to get the fight down. Again, and even if he does, how much success is he really going to have against Rabadanov, a guy who can grapple and a guy who has got a very long history with sambo? I think Rabadanov's in a really good position to win this fight, and I think he will get it. Again, he's the former Eagle FC champion. He did lose that back in 2020. It's the last time he did lose by decision at Eagle FC 30. I think he gets the world championship here in the PFL. Again, there's a reason Rabadanov's coming in as a minus 650 favorite, and he will get it done over Brent Primus, and he will do it by unanimous decision. Give me Gadzi Rabadanov to become the Bellator lightweight champ. Let's move on to the welterweight division. We have got a big fight between two undefeated Russians. You've got Magomed Umalatov taking on Shamil Musaev. A really good fight. This is a really good fight. Someone's always got to go. It reminds me, again, Magomed Karamov was not undefeated last year, but it reminds me somewhat of the fight that we were supposed to get last year in the welterweight championship for the PFL, and Magomed Umalatov versus Magomed Karamov. It does kind of remind me of that. Now you get two really good welterweights for the PFL and two guys who are undefeated as well. Shamil Musaev so far in 2023 has won 3 fights. He beat Logan Storley, upset him, I believe. It was a fight in South Dakota. I don't know if it was, but he TKO'd Logan Storley in his first fight in the second round, then beat Murad Ramazanov, another undefeated Russian who he knocked out in the second round, and then he beat Ramazanov again by unanimous decision in the playoff fight. And now here he is against Magomed Umalatov, a guy who has been around the PFL for a while. He's 8-0 in the promotion. He has never touched the PFL championship because in 2021, this is a guy who beats Kyron Bowen in his first fight, beats Leandro Silva. He's in the playoffs, can't make it to the date. I believe, right? No, 2021 he was not in the season. 2022 he was in the season, wins by first round knockout over Gerard Hussein Al-Sawali, gets in the playoffs against Roy McDonald, can't make the playoff fight because of visa issues. So then in 2023 he comes back, he beats Delano Taylor by first round knockout, beats Naib Lopez by decision, then is supposed to fight Magomed Karamov, not in the championship fight, but in the playoff fight in the first round, and he has to pull out the fight with Magomed Karamov. So 2024, he's back. He beats Andrei Koreshov in his first fight, beats Brennan Ward by Anaconda choke in the first round, then beats Neiman Gracie. Obviously, he's supposed to fight Don Madge. Madge had to pull out, and now here we go, Umalatov versus Shamil Musaev. I just think Musaev's a better striker, and ultimately that's where I think this fight's won and lost. I think it's going to be through the striking game. I think Musaev's better. I've seen Musaev completely freeze guys on the feet so far this year. Sure, it was, Logan Storley and Murad Ramazanov, but the way Musaev, how hard this guy hits, he stuns guys, man. Guys freeze when they get hit by Shamil Musaev, who is the silent assassin. I think, again, Umalatov does have a slightly better ground game, but striking-wise, my goodness, Musaev is good. I didn't know this guy was this good when he was coming in the PFL season, I'll be honest with you. Again, I didn't know he was that good. He is a great striker who's got so many skills in the feet. He is able to, go out there. He will mix it up. He will throw spinning attacks, and he will keep you guessing the entire fight. I really like Musaev to win this one. I like Shamil Musaev to get the job done. I think he will do it by, we'll go third round KO in this fight. I think eventually he'll find his way to break Umalatov. I think it's going to take a minute, but I do think Musaev's going to work the body. I think he's going to, again, show different angles to attack Umalatov, and eventually, again, he will find that big shot that puts Umalatov out. Again, someone's going to take their first loss. I think if Magomed Umalatov will win the fight, I think it will be on the ground. I think that's by far his best pathway to success, but I do think Musaev, again, is able to win in the striking exchanges, and I do like Shamil Musaev to get this one done, and he will take it again by third round KO over the undefeated Magomed Umalatov. As we go on to the light heavyweight division, we've got the reigning light heavyweight champion in Impa Kasanganay taking on Duvaljan Yagshimuradov. I've been waiting for this fight all season long. I thought it was going to be Kasanganay and Rob Wilkinson, but of course, Yagshimuradov goes out there and beats Wilkinson. Now here we go. It's Yagshimuradov, the Wolfhound, versus Shilobo Impa Kasanganay. If you've been watching me, do both UFC and PFL predictions for the last couple of years, you've known I'm a big Impa Kasanganay guy. I've been a fan of Impa when he was on the Contender Series, when he took his first fight in the UFC, when he, lost to Joaquin Buckley, came back, beat a guy by the name of Sasha Planatlikov, then ended up losing to Carlson Harris and getting cut by the promotion. But I've always liked Impa Kasanganay. What I've always said about Impa is that he's still young into his MMA career. That's what I said when he was in the UFC in his early days of the PFL as well. I was like, just watch out for this guy. He's, started fighting in 2020. He should be fine, or 2019, I think. And look at him now. He's a world champion who should have beat Johnny Eblen. He got robbed of the decision earlier this year, looking for his second straight PFL light heavyweight title. Now, for Impa, he gets into wars, man, and it's a little concerning watching Kasanganay fight because his pathway to the belt last year was a lot more dominant. Sure, he's taken on tougher guys this year, but the way Impa's fought has not been the most strategic way. He's fought in kind of like Michael Chandler, honestly. He's been fighting to put on shows, and he's been winning those fights. Kasanganay will walk you down, he will block punches with his face, and he will try to put you out. That's the way Impa's been fighting. Given, it's fun to watch, I ain't gonna lie, but it's concerning as a fan of Impa. Now, he will probably do the same thing against Duvaljan Yagshimuradov. Impa's got a chin on him, and he is going to throw back at Duvaljan as well. This is going to be a war, I will tell you that. This will be a straight-up war on the feet. Both these guys have pretty decent chins. I mean, sure, you can look back, Kasanganay got knocked out by Joaquin Buckley and Carlson Harris. Just look at what weights those fights were at, though. I mean, the Buckley fight was at 185 pounds, and the Carlson Harris fight was at 170 pounds. Kasanganay now is a light heavyweight fighting at 205. I'm not concerned at all about his chin anymore. I feel perfectly fine about Kasanganay's ability to take a punch. We are okay with that. He should be able to go out there, I think, and walk down Yagshimuradov. I think Yagshimuradov's a good striker. I think he is. I simply just think Impa's better, and I think the damage Impa's able to do with his shots are going to be more damaging to Duvaljan than what Yagshimuradov's able to do to Kasanganay. Kasanganay hits so hard, man. He really does. Again, you've watched what he's done so far in the PFL at 205 pounds. The knockout victory over Martin Hamlet. The finish win over Alex Polizzi. The Jacob Neto win that basically he knocks him out at the end of the second round. The doctor has to come in and stop the fight, but pretty much the referee should have stopped it at the end of those 10 minutes. I mean, again, the guy hits so hard, and the damage he's able to inflict with his punches. The 8 rounds that he's beat Josh Silveira, sure, Silveira stayed in those fights, and Silveira was competitive in those fights, but Kasanganay was doing way more damage than what Silveira was throwing back at him. I like him to beat Duvaljan in this fight. I do. I think it's a fight mostly contested on the feet. If it goes in the ground, I'm not I'm not against Kasanganay wrestling in this fight. I'm really not. I mean, last time we really saw Yagshimuradov struggle on the ground was against Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson. Now, again, if Corey Anderson fought Impa Kasanganay, I don't know what would happen. That's a fight I actually want to see. I hope we do see it, honestly. The Bellator light heavyweight champion and Corey Anderson versus the PFL light heavyweight champion. I would like to see that fight a lot, actually. I hope it does. Hopefully they do make that fight next year. Because I'd be intrigued. I would. I think Kasanganay beats Corey Anderson, I'm gonna be honest. Especially Corey Anderson who's 35 years of age right now. I think Kasanganay would probably win that fight. But that's the last time we saw the former ACB champion in Dafrawy really struggle on the ground. It was what Corey Anderson was able to do. He was able to take him down. He was able to ground him out. And he was able to, again, unload with strikes on the ground. I'm interested to see if Kasanganay tries that approach. But I do more so think Kasanganay will just be willing to strike with Dafrawy, which is fine with me because I do think he wins that fight on the feet. I think, again, Yagshimuradov's got power, but so does Impa. Both these guys will throw, and I think it is going to go the distance because the chins both these guys have. And on top of that, again, I just think, again, both these guys are conditioned to go the full 25 minutes. Kasanganay, we've seen him do it recently. Obviously, Yagshimuradov has done it back in his championship fights in ACB a couple of years ago. But again, I like the reigning champion here in Impa Kasanganay to win this fight. I've been picking Impa in every single fight that he's been in so far in the PFL, and I would expect him to go out here and beat Dafrawy Yagshimuradov. I just think he's got a better striking game, and I think the damage he's able to do is going to, be able to, take Dafrawy off his game more so than, on the flip side. I think, again, Kasanganay hits harder, and I think he'll be able to inflict more damage in this fight. So give me the reigning champion, Shilobo, Impa Kasanganay, to remain undefeated in the PFL Smart Cage, winning his second straight PFL championship, and winning a decision against Dafrawy Yagshimuradov. As we go on to the flyweight championship fight in the women's ranks, obviously, Ditcheva takes on Taila Santos. Probably, honestly, the biggest name fight on this entire card, I would say, even over Loughnane, but the PFL loves Brendan Loughnane, so whatever, that's the main event. Ditcheva taking on Taila Santos. I think Ditcheva wins the fight. I think she does. Now, she could completely get fraud checks here. I completely understand that. But she has been by far the most impressive fighter in the PFL this season. I understand Taila Santos is undefeated, but in terms of looking impressive, no, Ditcheva's looked the best. Hell, compare Ditcheva's win against Jenna Bishop and Taila Santos' win over Jenna Bishop. Taila Santos barely won that fight. She gets it done by unanimous decision. Ditcheva drops her in the first round and knocks out, or TKOs, Jenna Bishop. I mean, it's just look at the difference in how both of them beat Bishop. Santos, sure, she's looked good. She's done enough to win fights, but it hasn't been that impressive. I don't think Santos is as good as she was in the UFC. Again, it was always weird why Taila Santos got cut by the UFC in the first place. After, again, she took Valentina Shevchenko to the brink of losing the belt back at UFC 279 after she did, lose a fight in Singapore to Erin Blanchfield. But hell, look at Blanchfield now. She's coming off a victory in a 5-round fight against Rose Namajunas, right? Santos has looked great in the PFL, she hasn't looked great in the PFL, but she has won fights. Again, the first round submission victory over Lara Joanne, the split decision win over Jenna Bishop, and the unanimous decision victory over Liz Carmouche. Again, Carmouche is a good win, but how old is Carmouche now? 40? Ditcheva is 26 years old, and she's 8-0 in PFL, 13-0 as a professional, and she has finished every single fight she has been in so far in the PFL Smart Cage. 7 of them by knockout. That's impressive. I really like the boxing and the all-around Muay Thai game of Ditcheva. I think it's too good for Taila Santos. I think it is. Again, I am very impressed with what Ditcheva does. She's so quick on the feet. She's got so many different skills to beat you, and her grappling game continues to evolve as well. She can grapple with fighters as well. That's probably Taila Santos' best pathway to success, even though, yes, she hasn't relied on her grappling too much, but I think it's got to be her pathway here, because I don't think she wins a striking fight with Ditcheva. I think Ditcheva's just too quick for her. Sure, Santos might hit slightly harder, maybe, but I mean, hell, look at the way Ditcheva is just melting fighters. And I get it again. Ditcheva has never fought anybody on the level of Taila Santos, and it's not even close. I completely understand that. Even again, Ditcheva's run to the championship this year in the PFL, she did not have to fight the level of competition Santos had to fight. Again, Santos fought Liz Carmouche in the playoffs. Ditcheva fought Jenna Bishop. Again, nothing against Jenna Bishop. She took Santos to a split decision. But again, that was a regular season fight for Taila Santos. Ditcheva in the regular season fought Lisa Molden and Chelsea Hackett. I mean, we predicted that. Those are the two worst fighters in the field, so obviously Ditcheva was going to fight them. She's got the promotional backing. She's now just got to go out and win this one big fight that she does have. I mean, how the Bishop fight, we said it, as long as Ditcheva keeps the fight on the feet, she should be able to knock out Bishop. And that's what happened. I think she goes out here and beats Taila Santos. Give me Ditcheva to win the fight. Hear me out. I think she does it by second round TKO. I think eventually she finds her way to the TKO in this fight. I think she will break Taila Santos. Taila Santos hasn't looked as quick as she did in the UFC. And I just think Ditcheva has a speed advantage in this fight. And I think that's where she does go out here and beat Taila Santos. It's going to be Dakota Ditcheva to remain undefeated, to go to 14-0 and become a world champion at 26 years of age. I don't know what's next for her. Maybe they do her and Carmouche, the PFL versus Bellator fight next year. It would make sense. Just to get Ditcheva another win over a former world champion. And let's just be honest with ourselves, guys. That's a very winnable fight. Carmouche will probably lose the Bellator championship in her next fight. Hell, look at the way she fought Santos, the way she fought Watanabe in her fight prior to the postseason. I think it's an incredibly winnable fight for Ditcheva, and I'd expect her to beat Taila Santos. And I think, again, when she does fight Liz Carmouche, or if she does fight Liz Carmouche, she will win that fight as well. So give me Dakota Ditcheva to remain undefeated. She will find a way to finish Taila Santos in the second round. As we go on to the main event in the featherweight division for the featherweight championship, you've got Brendan Loughnane taking on Timur Khizriev. We said at the start of the season, Khizriev's the guy nobody wants to fight. And odds on, he will likely win the entire thing as well. Khizriev's not the most entertaining guy. He's going to go out there. He will out-wrestle you. He's a guy from Makhachkala, Dagestan, Russia. And he should be able just to kind of out-wrestle Loughnane for 25 minutes here. I firmly believe that. That's why I find it odd that this is the final fight of this card. Because you want to end things on your big star and Loughnane just getting laid on for 25 minutes. Don't get me wrong. Loughnane could find his way to the knockout, but I highly doubt it. Khizriev is 17-0. He's really never been all that hurt in any fight that he's had so far in the Bellator/PFL, promotion. The wins over Daniel Weichel, Richie Smolin, Justin Gonzalez, Brett Johns, Enrique Barzola, and then a split decision victory over Gabriel Braga. Now you get him 5 rounds against Brendan Loughnane. I'd expect him to really wrestle Loughnane in this fight. Sure, the striking advantage goes to the former champion Brendan Loughnane. That's apparent. But still, I just think Khizriev should be able to avoid that and just get the fight on the ground. Now, if Loughnane wins, obviously that's the big moment the PFL wants, and obviously it's the big moment the PFL is hoping for. That goes without saying. I just don't think it happens. Loughnane so far in 2024, right? He was the champion in 2022, went out there, beat Hyoji Kudo, beat Ago Husik, 2 fights he was not impressive at all in, beats Chris Wade, and then goes out there and looks good in the Bubba Jenkins fight to win the belt. 2023, he beats Marlon Moraes, loses to Jesus Pinedo, season over. 2024, beats Pedro Carvalho, beats Justin Gonzalez by the second round TKO or stoppage with the cut, and then beats Kai Kamaka by split decision in the first round of the playoffs. Now here he is against Khizriev. I don't think he's able to stop the wrestling, I'll just be honest with you guys. Different type of fighter, but the last time he lost, other than the Pinedo fight, was the Khabiblev fight. Khizriev just kind of implements the same game Khabiblev did. I could see him winning just like Khabiblev did, winning a close decision. But Khabiblev, again, mixing his striking with his wrestling. I don't think, again, Khizriev is at the striking degree of Khabiblev. But still, I think the wrestling is going to give, Loughnane a really tough night. And we say it all the time, too. Again, your wrestling makes your striking so much better as well, and I'd expect that to be the case here with Timur Khizriev. So again, we predicted it at the start of the season, but the same thing remains. Again, we expected Khizriev to go out here and win this PFL season, and obviously, again, here we are. I would expect him to beat Brendan Loughnane. He should be able to do it by unanimous decision. So give me 25 minutes of Timur Khizriev wrestling Brendan Loughnane, and Timur Khizriev becomes the PFL 2024 featherweight champion. So folks, thank y'all for watching our PFL predictions here for the championship card in 2024. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Come back for our PFL Europe championship predictions in just a couple weeks. And of course, we'll have UFC with UFC 310 coming up next week as well. So folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.